All right, well, welcome everyone. And knowing that this has been an ongoing conversation over the last several weeks in anticipation of this being a possibility, we wanted to make sure we give this information to you as an opportunity to learn and test some things here while our numbers are still manageable in classes with hybrid. Because two of the things that I've heard that have been frequently concerns from teachers regarding online learners is, number one, my kids aren't coming in, and number two, I don't know what they're necessarily doing. So one of the very first steps of trying to figure out how to address online learners, especially when many of you didn't have online learners over the course of the second quarter because they were shifting to our online teachers, is just figuring out, all right, what are the basics of what needs to be in place for it even to occur. And that's what we're really focusing on today, is how do we use the technology that's available to at least get started in getting a basic understanding of what is necessary to see our online learners, to hear our online learners, and find ways to be able to engage with our online learners. So this is going to be really focused in on, so you've not done live learning at any point yet, what are those first steps that need to occur? So that's really going to be the focus and emphasis of today, is trying to help with some basic steps in understanding to get a better idea of how we can start to tackle this over the next couple of weeks to work with this change in having kids come back 100% in person. So if we can at least get through some of the technical pieces to alleviate some concerns and fears there, then we can start to look at, all right, how do we help with some of the instructional strategies? That's down the road. Let's not get focused on that piece first. This first part is focusing on how do we even get started in this process. So over the past week to 2 weeks, we've really started to see the emergence of the essential technology pieces with the dual screens, with the microphones and those pieces there. That's what this is going to really focus in on today, is learning the basics of live streaming. And a lot of this has been trial and error of what some of the people have learned through doing this over the course of the last quarter. Things that we've found out, that we've learned through the process, and that we've gotten better at as we have learned some lessons from people who have done some of these pieces. All right.
Just first thing is always to test everything. So we're going to talk about that because someone said that we were a little muffly. So is it still muffly? Those of you on the live chat, how does it sound? Does it sound muffly? Can you hear me? Is that a no?
Or actually, you're saying, Kathy, it's just a little, like, it's not the clearest that it's been before.
Okay. All right. Now part of it problem is you've been moving in and out and trying to go back and forth like 14 times trying to unplug this and get it all set up. I had to set this up this morning, so hopefully you have Chris or Jason set this all up for you. So hopefully that won't be the case, because usually it's pretty clear. I'll try to, I wonder if it has something to do with me just plugging stuff in, but we're going to go with it, and then towards the end I'll try to talk more about that. But the first thing is, like Mike said, this is the basics of how to kind of do this, because we kind of realize some of us don't really know, like, yeah, we got the second stream, we got this at Jabra, and it's all, like, they're good, but we're not really sure, like, first off, how to use them. We're not going to really get into, like, how to do the best instructions with them. This is all the how-to stuff. So some of you have already had them set up, but maybe you're not, like, sure how to use them in class with the kids at the same time. Because now we're going to go down this new path where we're going to have kids in the class and kids at home, and we're trying to do both at the same time. And that's a lot going on at one time. So I just wanted to give you some time to kind of talk about how to do that. Let's see what Miss Mulfinger said. Okay, all right. So let's try something real quick. While I'm doing this, everyone tell their partner how nice their hair looks. There we go.
Does that sound better? Okay. There we go. Yeah. Catherine, you are amazing. All right. Is that better, Catherine? All right. Heather, my thumbs up. Okay. All right. So then, all right. Secondly, so we figured it out. I didn't have the settings correct, so I was actually using the microphone. Stacy called me out on that. Okay, like I said, because I was trying to plug things in a bunch of times. So one of our steps, and we're going to kind of end with this, is to check and test things out. So, all right. So can you hear me? Can you see me? Those are the big things. So the first thing we're going to talk about is seeing you. Okay, you have two options. I have a webcam up there, so some of you have that. If you don't have a desktop or a laptop, if you have a laptop, you're going to have the webcam right on the laptop that you can use. And the big thing here with the camera is finding that spot in the classroom. If it's a webcam, you're going to be kind of limited because the cord is only so long. You can only move it, 2 or 3 feet away. But finding that angle of what it is, if you have your desktop, your laptop, you can move that. That might be in the front of the classroom, might be in the side, might be in the other side, in the middle, wherever that is. Finding that spot where you can do that. So how you do that is you get a Google Meet and you just walk around. And you have somebody like if Kelly, I was like, hey Kelly, can you jump on this Google Meet real quick? I'm gonna walk around my classroom and try to find where's the best spot for my camera and whatever you want to show. Because you might want to show your board, you might want to show a class. Like somebody was asking me in science, like how am I gonna do this with all these kids in class and I want them to do a lab and I'm gonna have kids in on a computer. What am I gonna do with them? Well, so we went over the options there, and that involved them having to move the different laptops to different places based on what those needs are. All right, so. The Jabra, okay, like I just showed you, I purposely messed everything up in the beginning to show you guys how to not do stuff. But you want to make sure that your online students can hear you. So just asking, hey, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it is. Okay, you want to, because they can hear you better. I cannot tell you how much better it sounds besides just having somebody, Heather, want to jump in and just talk so we can hear you say something.
So I'll first say that it sounds so much better that you have the Jabra on now, Casty, because you don't sound robot-y anymore. You're super clear. And then I'm assuming you guys can hear me as well.
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you very clearly. And the volume, Kelly, could you hear it? Yep, so halfway across the room, we can hear you just fine. Yeah. So to demonstrate, Miss, why?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So ask her a question.
Heather, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Ms. Wellett.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, like Catherine, I don't know if you saw in the chat, Catherine was saying as I moved farther away, it got harder to hear me. But this is so nice because then it brings every kid in the classroom. And that's the idea. You want to try to still connect all of those students to each other. And I know that's very hard, but this is just something that's going to help you with that. And that's the whole point of this, is making your life easier. Okay, so the setup and the location, and we'll go through the settings and things like that. So it plugs right into your computer. It has this cord, but this cord is not for it to work, it's for it to charge. So it's wireless, so you don't have to have it plugged in your computer all the time. You can actually move it away. And the reason I say that, I've seen teachers that always have it plugged in, and that's fine if you want to keep it there, but you have options of moving it around the classroom, whatever works for you. So before class started today, this is class, Heather was in her office and I just moved the Jabra to different spots and I moved all around the room and I talked to see where's a good spot where you can hear me, where I can hear you, and things like that. There's another little USB, so some people don't know, that's on the bottom here, and then that's what pops out and actually goes into your computer, and that's how it makes it the wireless. Okay, yeah, say, and then.
I have a question about the plug.
Yes.
When I plug mine into my computer, you have to take the Jabra thing out because otherwise it messes everything up. Because it's trying to do right.
Yes.
Okay, so that's something you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because if this is in, then if you plug it in, then it doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. Sometimes if you have both of them plugged in, it can mess up. So taking that out. There is also a little stand, depending on how you want this to point. Like I'm going to stand on this side, so that's why I'm putting it on both ways. But you can do that if you want, if you know it's going to be one way. Check the charge, and how you do that, there's a little battery button on it. So if you just hold down the battery button, it kind of glows the green, so I can see there's about half of the charge there, so I know if I have to do that. A charge will last you a day, sometimes they say 2 days. So just during your prep period, if you charge it, like I had it plugged in for 20 minutes and it went from almost dead to halfway full. So it charges pretty quick. And then plug in before you start. Sometimes you're going to have to restart the first time you plug it in. So you want to make sure it's not like, oh, I have it to live stream in 30 seconds. I better plug this Jabra in, because sometimes it's not going to get caught up. Or like I did, I unplugged it during the meet and then tried to plug it back in. It doesn't automatically recognize that. It tries to look for some other things. So we already had Heather kind of showcase what this sounds like, but you guys heard how much better it is than if I have that turned on, then I have to mute my microphone when I'm talking, and there's all that feedback, and this just eliminates that. So,
All right, Marcus, question?
When you, so like you take it out of the box and what happens? Like,
so you take it out of the box and you put that one in there and then you're ready to go. Like it doesn't need any software, doesn't have to download.
what are
and
we
then-
putting in over there?
So there's just a little, I would take it out, but it's just a little USB
Okay.
thing.
It's on the back of the speaker, and then you take it out and you put it in your computer.
It's about, oh, there, here you go. See, it looks like this.
Don't lose that.
Magic trick.
It's very important.
All right. And Mike, and then I'll show you some of the settings when we get to the end about how I did this thing.
And that charges on your computer?
Yep, it's just a USB plug, or if you have like, I know you have and some of you have like USB plugs that are in the wall, so you can do that too.
Oh, that's nice.
So Mark,
Wish I had
you're gonna wanna check when it comes out of the box, it could be no charge,
It's probably
half charge, you just gotta check it,
Mhm.
because they've been sitting for a while.
Yeah. And you have to plug that in before you call?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the little one, yeah, I'd plug that in. And sometimes you might have to even restart your computer the first time you plug it in, to go from there. So then the dual monitors. So I set those up in here because I wanted to show you what it looks like on dual monitors. Because the good and the bad thing about dual monitors is I can see what I'm presenting, you guys can see what you're presenting, but then I can also look at my kids in the class and I can see, hey, most of them don't even have their screens on. So that might be something I want to tell them, hey, I need you to have your screens on because I don't like talking to black screens. Like whatever that expectation is going to be in your classroom, you got to set that. But then I can see that, I can have the chat up and I can see kind of if things pop up. That's what that second monitor is for when you're doing that dual monitor. So you have the kids you can see, you have the presenting your screen on it over there. However, it's not as easy as just like, oh, I got two monitors, I'm ready to go. You have to have a little bit of setup.
Is that an expectation, like the district or our school is saying that the cameras need to be on, or?
No,
I don't think so.
I would say that is really dependent on what you want the kids to be doing. So there are times where it may require you to have their cameras on because you're doing an activity that requires some sort of communication that way. But if maybe it's just a day where you're going in and the kids are viewing a lesson and you're really not going to be intentionally interacting with the online kids, then you wouldn't need that. So it's truly going to be teacher dependent, activity dependent on what your needs would be.
Yeah, so then I put down this, this is not pushed out because the old one was messing up. So this you can download if you wish to use this, but since not everybody has to, it's not something that the district downloaded. But I'm gonna pull this one over so you guys can kind of see this. But if you notice, when I have this meet on, when I don't have that grid on, some of the screen is taken up by what I'm actually presenting to the kids. So when I turn this grid on and over here, and I know those of you that are on, you can't see, I can actually see more people. Does that make sense? So that's why I want to install that grid fix. And I know those of you that are online can't see that, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Okay. So then I'm going to actually open in another window. So like a lot of times you go down to this little button on the bottom that says you are presenting, and you present and you hit your entire screen. If you present your entire screen, you won't be able to use the dual monitor setup. You're going to want to present a separate window. So all I have to do, a window is just, this is a window right here, this little thing. So that's a window. And then what I have over here, this one is set up as a window too. So when I pick my presentation, I picked what I want to present, which is this. So when I do that, then I'm allowed, or I'm able to actually present the part that I want, which is this whole presentation and not anything of those kids. So I want to present a window. So there we go. So then drag, and some of you have seen me do that, I'm going to drag the Google Meet to the second window. So whichever one is up on the projector, so like this is the one I have set up on my projector, so I want to make sure that is on this screen. This one is not on the projector, so that's why I have the kids over there, because I want to present what I can see. Right, where those people.
And if you think about it as a primary and secondary screen, your primary screen is always going to be the one that you want kids and your online kids to see. And your secondary screen will typically always have the Google Meets, the grid view there and showing who's online and who's not. So if you think about it as a primary and secondary screen, it just allows you a little bit more simplicity to that.
Yep, so then this is the look I'm going for. I want to have that up there. And maybe, during live stream, I'll tell you, when you first start doing it,
this might be too much at first. And it's okay to just say, I'm just gonna put the camera on and I'm just gonna teach and just start there. Because you have to, like, we gotta start somewhere. I'm not gonna tell you that the starting point is the same for everybody. But if you feel like, I think I can do this, then that's something else that we want to show and go from there. All right? And then I can see, like, so this is what the students see. So if you're wondering, okay, I know what you see, Ms. Pearson, but what are everybody at home seeing? What they see at home is, this is what I'm presenting on the screen. So this thing right here, or this screen on this side, is going there. What the students see, then they can see my screen I'm presenting, and then all the little people that are there. So if they don't have their screens on, they're gonna see a bunch of black boxes with their Google avatars, and that's what they're gonna see.
So in that view, they don't see you as a teacher, right?
So they would. They're gonna see what's coming out of this, really small. Like, so they're gonna see my board, and then they're gonna see a camera that's that size. So they're not gonna really see what's in class that much because it's very small. Yeah. So if you want them to actually be paying attention to what's going on in class, you gotta stop presenting your screen and just use your web. Okay. All right. So then this is the last one that we're gonna email out and like as a screenshot. So this is kind of like the checklist. Like if I'm getting started, what do I want to do? So number one, camera, decide where it's at, test it out. What does it look like from each location? The Jabra, where should it go? So I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna find that little part. I usually just have my phone and kind of walk around, but if you get too close, you get that feedback. So if you want someone else to join, that's fine too. And then the dual monitors. Practice all those things we talked about. Setting up a Google Meet, doing the menu, or sorry, presenting to a different window and then pulling that window over and make sure that it looks the way you want. So find that person, ask me, myself, or any other coaches to help you kind of do that. The last thing is then practice. Like just, try it now if you want with your kids, or ask another teacher or myself or Ms. Hicks or Mr. Pekin. Maybe Mr. Zimmer would like to come in and help you. And just have them join the Google Meet and they can tell you, oh yeah, that looks great. You sound perfect, whatever it is. And then you kind of know how to move those things. And then that way you're kind of all set up and ready. I also do kind of want to say that the next lesson, whenever that will be kind of like, okay, now I'm getting to this. What can I do next with this? Because these things are great, but then obviously it's always the goal is how do we get to that next step and how do we keep moving those students move forward? And like I said, you got to start somewhere. And if that's where you end, that's fine. But you have to kind of try that. And then when you need help, I just wanted you to know that we're all here and have this to go back to as a resource. So I'm going to show you the settings, but any questions before I do that? So those of you that are online, I'm going to X this out and I'll show you something real quick.
Do you recommend the camera if it's so small, or do you just present usually?
I think it really depends on what you want the kids at home to be seeing, because you can push out your screen, you can push out slides, you can push out a Google document, you can So you can do it. Really depends on what you want that to be and how interactive and what you want them viewing. There's a lot of options and it's really just dependent on what you want the kids to be seeing at home.
So what's an example that someone's used that it's like this big? Like what on the camera have they shown where it's only like this? What can the kids see really well? Like, I guess is the question.
Oh, like when you're that small?
Yeah.
Nothing. Like I would not expect them to be able to tell what anything.
So really it's more present your screen.
Yes. Yeah. If that's the case, then you're presenting your screen and you're wanting the kids to see something like a Google Slides or something along those lines.
I will say that when I do my live sessions, I just have my I have this and I have it pointing at my board, and whenever it records, it just shows my what I'm doing on my computer, and so it allows me to write on the board, and they see that that's in the recording. That's what they see. Yeah. But if you're asking what do they see on their screen?
Yeah.
I guess I look at it in terms of what the recording shows.
If you're presenting, they're going to see
the whole thing.
This.
Yeah.
They're going to see what you have, but if you're not presenting, then they're going to see whatever is on the camera. So when this Ghostlight does it, they show the.
So if I present, it's okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So usually when you present, it's they're going to see your face. It's just to have your face, so then that way they can't see that. But.
Mark,
right.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
So from this way too, when Cassidy was presenting before, we could see the presentation, and then on the right-hand side, I could also see the small box of the classroom. And it was just kind of nice to be able to see him as the instructor moving around too, as he was talking. I didn't find it to be distracting, it was just kind of like a window into the classroom, even though I couldn't make out the faces of everybody as they were talking.
Okay, thank you.
So then, when we send the recording out of this on Monday, you'll see that, like that, it'll give you the student view. But so if I'm here, and I know those of you at home won't be able to see this, but when I go to present now, I have those three options. I have the entire screen, window, or tab. So if I want to present and be able to see all my kids, I want to present a window. I'm actually gonna do an entire screen now just because I want the people at home to see what I'm doing. So when I go here, you'll notice it says screen 1 and screen 2 because I have the dual monitor set up. So this is the one that goes to the projector. So if I want to present that and I want you in the class to see it, I want to make sure I pick the one that actually goes to the projector. So then now, you'll notice when I go here, for those of you at home, if I do this, some of my screen is taken up by this presentation, so I can't see everybody. But if I turn on that install the Google Fix preview, now I can see everybody. So it depends on what I want, but they're seeing what I'm looking at now. So then the other thing is, when I go down here, if something's not working, you go into your settings, and the only kind of settings you have are audio and video. So I know if I have the Jabra plugged in, I want to make sure that my speaker and my microphone are both Jabra, because then that's what I can figure out what it is. And video, you might have some different ones. So if I switch to the video view, it's going to switch to like, now it's just showing my belly because I switched the camera. So you just have to make sure that, like I said, kind of practice and play and see, make sure you find what works best.
So the Mimeo view would be oftentimes like a document camera or something that you could use if you're doing a math, if you're doing a equation or something, you could turn your document camera on and then the online kids could see you while you're actually doing that.
And Heather's kind of doing a good example right now. If you notice, there's that raise hand button on the bottom. So like if I have those that on the second screen, I can see, okay, Heather must have a question. Because maybe she doesn't want to like wave me down. Maybe she, even if like Catherine Mulfinger did that now, it would show up even though her face isn't on there, so I would know if somebody had a question or not.
Thank you, Catherine.
There you go, good job, Miss Mulfinger, favorite students. Perfect.
And did you hear how the Jabra kind of chimed there as far as an alert there that somebody raised a hand or made a comment? So sometimes if you have the audio on, you can hear when somebody's trying to interact with you online.
Okay, any questions? And like I said, please let myself, coaches, anyone know if there's anything that we can do to help. I know that there's a lot going on, so anything, you know.
So I would say, knowing we have 2 weeks before, if this is something you want to just try to pilot or just try it for a quick 5-minute, whether that's when you're in class and have kids online, or if you just want to simulate, talk to instructional coaches, talk to administrator, we'll help you walk through that. If nothing else, if trying it once or twice before you're actually wanting to use it, I would highly recommend it because you're just gonna get more comfortable in doing it. And the more comfortable you are with the technology pieces of it, then it's going to alleviate that concern and then just shift our focus and attention to other aspects once you feel comfortable with the technology. But this is the first step. And without this, nothing else would be possible. So this is critical just to get a basic understanding of how to see, how to hear, to help maximize and make your time the most efficient it can be with your in-person and online learners.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good break.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Online friends, good seeing you.